And our final breed group of cattle will be our American breeds. And our American breeds are our Bos Indicus or Bos Indicus cross breeds. When we think about Bos Indicus cattle, the predominant breed of Bos Indicus cattle here in the United States would be our Brahman. These cattle are known for their tropical adaptivity, so they're adapted to the hot, humid climates of the Gulf Coast region of the United States, and especially adapted to the climates here in Texas. Those cattle, in addition to their adaptability to the heat and humidity, they're also more hardy, more insect resistant, just more parasite resistance in general. They're also known for their maternal ability and their ability to make excellent mother cows in the Gulf Coast region of the United States. In addition to that, they've got a tremendous amount of hybrid vigor and performance in them as well. Some of the downsides of those breeds, and one of their biggest downside is, on average, they tend to be lower in marbling and have lower quality grades. Again, on average within that breed group. So with those breeds that we have for our market steer shows here in Texas, we have our Brahman, Brangus, Santa Gertrudis, Cimbra, and then finally our American Breeds Cross, which would be a combination of American breed or Brahman and an additional breed.
Talking about the Brangus breed characteristics, first and foremost, to be eligible for the Brangus breed, they must physically exhibit breed characteristics indicative of purebred black Brangus. With that said, they need to be solid black. And progression of importance is going to be placed on to include a Bos Indicus head, eye, and ear of moderate length. In other words, that ear is going to be slightly pointed, drooping, and opening down and forward. Now, with this Bos Indicus, with an adequate Bos Indicus head, eye, and ear characteristics, the sheath score is going to be irrelevant. Also, some other characteristics that will be acceptable for the Brangus, they'll need to show some evidence of a crest. Now, some discriminatory breed characteristics are going to include scurs or slick spots, an excessive pendulous sheath, and also inadequate Bos Indicus head, eye, and ear characteristics, and also any brown dilution over the ribs, foreflank, twist, and muzzle. And then a sheath score of 1. Again, any of these are going to be discriminatory, will cause a little more, cause the classifiers to discriminate and look just a little more closely. Now, some absolute disqualifications are going to include the evidence of horns, dehorning scars, any white above the underline or in front of the navel, and any white on the legs, feet, or tail, and also any brindle color pattern. In regards to the Brangus head shape or Brangus head type, keep in mind that they are 5/8 Angus and 3/8 Brahman influence, so typically they're going to have a little shorter head. The ear set is going to be a little higher, typical of your Angus type breed. But again, keep in mind those ears are going to be slightly pointed, opening forward, and slightly drooping as well. So again, just keep in mind the breeds that comprise the Brangus and go from there. Now, as we move into this first steer, you notice the head, really just a very typical Brangus head. Where the ears are pointed and opening forward there, and you notice the slick poll there. Again, just very indicative of the Bos Indicus head, eye, and ear. A side view, again, you see the evidence of the crest up in the front end, and you notice the ears are opening forward there. Again, just a very typical Brangus steer. Again, another very typical steer. Notice the evidence of the crest, the ear set, the eyes. Now here you notice there is a scur on this particular steer, but again, it just scurs are acceptable, but do fall under the discriminatory column there. Again, another very typical Brangus type steer. Notice the evidence of the crest, the head, the eye, all very acceptable. This steer a little, perhaps a little lighter or a little more brindle type color, but I think a lot of that is just strictly due to the the shearing of that particular steer. He is black all the way throughout, and then when you analyze him up about his head and his neck and his face, very indicative of the Brangus characteristics there. One with a little more sheath and underpinning, but again, when you look at him up on his neck, he's got the evidence of the crest, and again, very Brangusy appearing about the head there. This steer is perhaps a little cleaner when you start looking at his sheath score there, but with that aside and just analyze him up on his neck and his head and his face, again, very typical and very indicative from that standpoint.